So, look, I think I've had several conversations with both representatives of large businesses operating in Pakistan in the technology sector, but also those involved in the startup community side. And investors have also said that this will negatively impact the ecosystem, and they've expressed concerns. So first up, we need to be very clear that there is broad consensus among industry and civil society that there are substantial changes necessary for this piece of legislation. In terms of the real impact that I see coming out of those conversations, look, we at the Atlantic Council have been talking to these stakeholders for the last 6 months or so, and put out an issue brief on this topic much before this move happened in the cabinet as well. And some things stood out to us that the government should have looked at. Number one is that there is definitely a need to regulate the technology sector, but that has to be balanced by the need that Pakistan also has to allow accelerating growth in the technology ecosystem. The bill itself will put onerous compliance costs on both large and small businesses alike, meaning that if you're a small business, all of a sudden now you have to be investing your scarce capital, and fundraising, as you and your audience already knows, has been very hard in the current economic climate in Pakistan. You have to put those scarce resources now to build compliance and governance teams just because of the clauses in this law. And those clauses, by the way, are not clear, and we can get to that in just a moment. The second big issue will be that given the limitations on cross-border data flows, there will be impacts on the suite of digital services available to Pakistani businesses and talent, including freelancers, which then means that their ability to sell their products and services in the global technology market is likely to be impacted, which then, of course, has a direct impact on export potential earnings from the technology sector. And now we know that both the current Prime Minister as well as the previous Prime Minister have continued to express a desire to see technology exports grow from Pakistan. So on the one hand, we want technology exports to grow. On the other, we're putting in place or trying to put in place legislation that will create hurdles for the growth of these exports. That's the second one. And then I think the third big issue here is a more fundamental problem, and it's a problem across all of these legislations that are being tabled and passed in rapid succession by this outgoing government, is the process itself. Look, the process of developing, and this is something we wrote in our issue brief as well, it has to be transparent and inclusive. We know from the publication that the US Chamber of Commerce has made on its website that industry was not asked for comments on this latest draft. To this day, many people I speak to are confused as to what exactly is the actual draft, because the one online is a bit older and now they're not sure in terms of what exactly the government is working with, right? So when you have stakeholders saying that we are unclear on the process that was followed, whether our comments were taken in or not, what was the feedback that was given by the government, when were these things made public, all of those questions around process are much more significant ones about the state of democracy in Pakistan itself. And so I think overall, when you have a broad consensus among all stakeholders, including civil society, domestic industry, and foreign investors and industry, then the government, in my view, and this is what I wrote in my article as well a couple of days ago, should press pause on this and reconsider its decision to pass this legislation.